it's just not, it's not pretty. This summer was, it's no prettiness. It's not pretty like it usually years past, but so beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody's dragging. And yeah, I think that's why people are tired. Everyone looks tired, it feels tired. I think it's, you feel tired because it's just not the seasons. You can't tell, your body can't tell anymore what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Where's Georgette?
I don't know, but I just hit the go live button. You know, she usually needs a few minutes. I was in the process of trying to open my welcome screen when you came on, but it's acting funky. So I've been here. You know how I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I'm trying to figure out really what the best time is for me to get things set up, because it's stressful to me when, you know, we're about to go live and then the computer starts acting up, or Zoom starts acting up, or YouTube starts acting up. So the last couple of weeks I've been here pretty early. I started doing my little setup routine today at 5 o'clock. So I think that's too early, but on the other hand, I'm not stressed out. So
yeah.
So I don't know, but you know, Geo is usually a couple minutes late. I'm watching my Facebook page to see if she posts any messages there, but nothing so far. So she's probably on the way. So so yeah, I've just kind of been dragging around all day, but you know, I love a nap. You know, no shame in my game.
I don't mind naps. It just makes me feel horrible when I get up. It's not refreshing for me. So that's the only reason why I just being tired to the point where I fall asleep or have to take a nap, because it's not refreshing. I know other people that they say it's not refreshing for them to take a nap. Yeah, I get up feeling terrible.
Yeah.
So that's why I avoid them. Not that I'm not tired, but and then if I fall asleep
I was gonna say, since we're here, we can go ahead and do the welcome. You know, so we don't have to stay any longer. We'll, you know. So let me do it. Welcome, everyone, to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. I'm Michelle Odom in Brooklyn, New York. I'm here with my best friend. Who are you, best friend?
Venita Walker. I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut.
All right, where you've got heavy rains going on.
Thunderstorms, yeah, it's thunder.
Storms, yeah. And just joining us, what's your name, stranger?
Georgette Moses from sunny South Carolina. I wish I could send it to you, Venita. Oh my goodness.
Oh wow, yeah. It did, this rain, though, it did come from the south. Maybe not as far south as South Carolina. But I did see something on the weather warning today that it was coming from somewhere down there, because we had a heavy downpour here in New York between about 3 and 4. And now it has slowed down a lot, but Venita's got the heavy part of it. So
Okay, well, stay safe. Just stay safe.
Yeah. So I was starting to do the welcome and just saying we are the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. We are currently reading The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Spacetime, and Dreams Deferred by Dr. Chanda Prescod-Weinstein. We're actually almost finished with the book. What else? We started reading in April, and we're scheduled to go through August 8th, which happens to be the anniversary of my mother's passing in 2006. But you can learn more about the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle on YouTube, where we have a channel by that name, on Facebook, where we have a page by that name. And we also have a website called readingchangeslives.wordpress.com. And there's several pages there, but one page is called Book Chat News. And that's where we do a lot of posts related to whatever the current reading is. And so with that, I will say the current reading is chapter 13. Let me share my screen. Chapter 13, Cosmological Dreams under Totalitarianism. Can you see it yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what else? Next week, chapter 14, which is really the last chapter. And then the following week, there's a postscript. But next week is chapter 14, Black Feminist Physics at the End of the World. Oh, Chanda.
Okay, maybe she means geographically. I hope.
I don't think so. Oh, Chanda, what do you have in store for us now? So that should be interesting. All right, the summary. So I put an apology in the agenda because I really kind of just ran out of time this week. I was tired. I was shopping. I was whatever. Went to the movies.
Oh, good. Okay, you enjoyed yourself. That's fine.
I did. So I don't know. I don't know how much more I'm gonna do for the remainder of the book. So y'all might want to have a couple of questions ready.
Okay, we've been warned.
Yeah. But I do have a couple for you tonight. So the summary, which is actually the summary that got posted with the invitation. And normally what I do is I read the chapter quickly on Wednesday, and then I write a quick summary like this. And I use that to set up the invitation on YouTube. And then as the week goes on, I'm looking at the chapter more thoroughly, and I'm figuring out what things I want to post about and taking notes from the chapter. And then that's how I end up developing questions. And usually I rewrite the summary so it becomes more thorough. So this is not rewritten. This is my first draft. So I won't torture you with reading it, Geo. Election of the 45th president, whose name I just didn't even want to say, was horrifying for many scientists who somehow had failed to see the totalitarian roots and nature of the United States of America. Though disgusted by the anti-science of the Trump administration, the flawed understanding of how science has consumed and fosters propaganda was revealed in the 2017 March for Science. Moreover, the psychological wage white privilege pays makes anti-fascist solidarity difficult and obscures the exclusive nature of democracy in the United States. Chapter 13, Cosmological Dreams Under Totalitarianism, examines ways in which America's heart of darkness came as a surprise to some white people during the Trump era. But the fascistic foundations of land dispossession and enslavement have allowed many people of color to maintain a wide-eyed view of the violent, destructive propensities of this capitalist structure. As Langston Hughes put it, America never was America to me. Colonialism and white supremacy have served the needs of American science, yet scientists often continue to believe science is somehow separate from society. The way science happens can change from an internalist to an externalist view by incorporating the influence of the socio-political environment, suggests the author of The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey in Dark Matter, Spacetime, and Dreams Deferred by Chanda Prescod-Weinstein. In significant ways, the nature of the role of science in society has been to offer technologies of death. This is clearly illustrated in the case of nuclear weapons, courtesy of a team led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, but is seen in other examples such as napalm, Agent Orange, medical experimentation, mining for uranium and other minerals, surveillance technologies, and global warming. Deadly mixture of science and capitalism has seen a decline in funding for basic science, a disinterest in science for science's sake, and an increase in billionaire funding for quantum information technologies with obvious military and commercial value. People must bend the arc of the moral universe in the right direction and reject the colonialism, anti-Blackness, xenophobia, and other social ills marking the global North as the progenitor of death and destruction throughout the world. Shit. I guess number one, Gio, you want to read that?
Okay.
Get it.
He is now, oops.
Sorry.
That's okay. He has now reached the stage where he sees the problem philosophically as a problem of world civilization. How to reconcile the undoubted advantages of an industrial civilization with what that very civilization is doing to him as a human being. C.L.R. James, Mariners, Renegades, and Castaways, The Story of Herman Melville and the World We Live in. And question A, so what is our civilization doing to us? And B, are we pleased with the impact of civilization on humanity? If not, what do you see as a way to lessen the impact of civilization on humanity or steer the ship in another direction?
Thank you. Anybody? What is civilization doing to us?
Well, I learned a new term, the global north and the global south.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, it appears that civilization, thanks to greed and, I don't know, disregard for human lives, has turned us into those who benefit from the resources and those who must profit from, those who must provide the resources. And so the global south is designated as the raw material provider. And so they have to be controlled. And anything that upsets that balance gets attacked or destroyed. So civilization would, what does it mean? Ask someone who lives in different parts of the world, what is civilization? I'm sure you get a different answer due to the things they see in their lives that are good and beneficial, and then other things that are destructive. It's all about where you live, what civilization is going to mean to you. Because even um African American living in a southern state, they're going to say, yeah, it's okay, but we have some things we have to go through to live even here, live a decent life, and the stress that inherently comes with the psychology of America. And if you ask someone who lives in, I don't know, trying to think of one of the African countries where they're mining one of the minerals used for our technology. What does civilization mean to them? They're trying to survive. When you have a little child that's using their bare hands in toxic, to mine a toxic mineral, and he's not going to school, he doesn't have running water. What does civilization mean to him? So it's a powerful question. And how do you get all these people with these disparate priorities on the same page, right? Because so sure in Palestine, in Israel, their idea of civilization means something might mean something entirely different, right? What are you willing to give up? What kind of privileges are you willing to give up? So someone who is not has a lack of basic human privileges, right, will have that. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to do? And so first you have to start there. People caring, people seeing the information, right? Knowing. So
Yeah, and as you said, caring. One of my podcasts I was listening to today, Rachel Maddow has a podcast. In fact, this was the last episode, called Deja News, where she did 6 episodes where she looks back at a story in history, um, and compares it to how current events replicated in some ways. And so today she was looking at um, when Italy in the 1930s, 35, I believe, decided that they wanted to invade um, Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And Haile Selassie was, Ethiopia was a member of the League of Nations, which of course was forerunner to the United Nations, um, with the same kind of pact, that NATO has, all for one for all kind of a thing. And so, and Italy too was a member of the League of Nations. So first of all, one member of the League should not be attacking another member of the League. But if they do, then the other members of the League are technically obligated to support the one that's been attacked. Mm-hmm. But, there were all the questions in Europe about, you mean send white men to protect Africans? Are you kidding me? Wow. And so the League did not stand up for Ethiopia. Italy did successfully invade Ethiopia. But they also had the attitude that, well, at that point, all of Africa had already been carved up by Europe, except for two countries. And so Ethiopia was one of the last ones that was still free. And so the attitude was, well, why shouldn't Italy have this peace if they want it? Mm. And so that was that. So then Rachel compares it to the situation in Ukraine. And the global North response to that situation, where even though Ukraine is not a member of NATO, it is what it is. So that's why, I think it's more than just knowing, about an atrocity. It is about caring, it is about feeling, it is about empathy, it's about love. It's, it's all of these things that we don't have. Yeah. So, so anyway, I'll stop talking, but I might have more to say about civilization. But Venita, you want to take a stab at that one? I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Mm-hmm. Because of capitalism, and big business is a ledger. Ledgers don't have empathy. Ledgers don't have minds. Ledgers don't have hearts. Ledgers don't care. And so as long as we have capitalism, whether it's here in the United States or globally, I don't know where we're going to get that compassionate, caring, civilization from. I don't understand. I posted actually an article the other day, and again, everything is almost like a musician. Now you see it, now you don't. People can make you believe whatever they want you to believe. They can make themselves bigger in life. The United States can make you believe what they want you to believe. They make themselves bigger in life. The United States is helping Ukraine because they want something Ukraine has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The United States and all the other countries do nothing for any other country unless you have something that they can use. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with Ukraine being white folk. It has to do with, and I don't know what it is, it has to do with you have something that we can use. So we're going to save you for the moment, and then we are going to come back and take over. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've seen happen over and over and over again. Again, I posted an article recently, and it was talking mostly about the liberals and how the liberals, claim to be, the fighters and the saviors for the downtrodden and the this and the that and the whole 10 yards, but they have their own invisible borders. And particularly you can see it in Connecticut. where they will get out there every day and they'll have all their activists and all the happy other crap going on. But we have very, very wealthy towns. And when I say wealthy, I mean that nobody in certain towns, everyone is wealthy.
Wow.
Every last citizen there is wealthy. The school systems are the cream of the creme. And the invisible wall that they put up is by the laws that they have governing their town and their counties. Whereas a good example, these towns will not have any type of apartment complex in their town. It's in their bylaws. They will not have any type of condominium in their town. They will not have any type of big box store in their town. So what they do is have society believe that there's liberal folks off of the downtrodden. In actuality, and many of them out there now fighting, pretending that they care about the situation at our borders. But they have their own invisible borders.
Mm-hmm.
These towns stay all white. When I say all white, I mean all white. Even the dogs in the town are all white. If you walk down the street in the quaint little wealthy town with the quaint little wealthy, beautiful stores that most cannot shop in, even the dogs are white. So I don't even know I don't know how it can happen when we have those things called invisible borders, but yet they get out in front of the public and you hear them all the time that we're the liberals.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not. You're liberal until it comes to not my backyard, not my wealthy town. There will not be any busing here. There will not be any apartments, condos, or anything like it here. We don't have a food pantry at our town hall, and we won't be getting one because we won't be having anybody in this town that need one. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even what you see is not the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to know where you can even start when everyone is, everyone is under, they live under this guise of, we care, but in actuality, that's just not the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't approach civilization until we get civil. We don't live in a civil country.
Yeah.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Okay, Venita.
So, but that's a very good article you might want to read because many people don't know how they talk about the South all the time. And they have this preconception the North is all liberated and it's the land of the free. No. It's no different than really the South, except they make it look pretty here. Wealth can make anything look pretty.
Absolutely. So C.L.R. James, who I guess is the step grandfather of Chanda, because he was married to her grandmother, Selma James. He's asking, how do we reconcile the undoubted advantages of an industrial civilization with what that very civilization is doing to him as a human being? Why am I all this? I thought I turned it off. Sorry. How do we reconcile this industrial? So Venita was touching on, Gio was touching on little children digging in poison mines so that we could have cell phones and computers and all the luxuries that we enjoy, because actually that's what they are, you know. What we need, shelter from storms, good quality food, you know, what we actually need is not very much. So most of what we have, I would say, fall in the category of creature comforts, you know. And I don't know that there's a way to reconcile it. It's just selfishness and greed. And it's perpetuated from generation to generation. You know, I mean, I'm glad I won't be around, because I'm really tired of watching this monkey show. But I kind of would love to be around, you know, 20, 30 years from now, to see how the young people now, who are so rightfully committed to getting action on climate change, to getting it right. I mean, they clearly see the failings of previous generations that have left them, you know, with a planet that is almost uninhabitable. You know, and right now, at this stage in their life where they have, you know, not much to lose materially, they want to get it right. But that's something that, for different issues, many young generations have experienced and felt. But something happens along the way as we buy into, are seduced into, go running toward the capitalist order. You know, something happens where that clarity of vision and commitment to making the world better, you know, it's swallowed up. It's swallowed up. So yeah, I'd like to be here in 20, 30 years to see if this is the generation that gets it right. What are you shaking your head for, Venita?
I love your optimism. But I don't want to be the person to break your bubble.
And your realism keeps me down to earth.
But girl that's going to lay down and call it a day. You do not want to be here 30 years from now.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
First of all, yeah, because first of all, if you don't lay down yourself and die, they're going to kill old people. Okay? That's right. They're going to have me out there picking something. And I can't do it. So no, don't be here 30 years from now. And it's sad to think it is. I mean, people in this country know that titanium mines has been managed by children slaving forever and a day. We're all a part of it. No, you're not going to give your cell phone, because capitalism has gotten you, because you only have it by default. Technology we only have by default. It was for the wealthy. It was really for them. And by default, you have a phone. By default, you have access to technology. So we're all a part of it. So while everybody's sitting around saying, oh my God, the poor children down there in the titanium mines dealing with this toxic metal, and you don't really care. It brings you back to the liberals in the wealthy towns that have the invisible fence, but claim they're out there fighting against the unhuman treatment of the migrants that are crossing the borders. The only difference is their border is invisible. As a matter of fact, when I was a real estate broker, their towns in Connecticut, the wealthy towns, we have a centralized system called the MLS system. Before you had Zillow and all the other internet-based information systems about what properties are available, whether it's commercial, whether it's commercial or residential. There was a system called the MLS system. And MLS system is available to everyone in Connecticut, every town, except the super wealthy towns. They did not want to be a part of the system. Normally you see a lockbox on the front of the house and you'll see the realtor come in and they'll have their combination. This is years ago, and they'll open up the lockbox and take you around and show you the wonderfulness in this prospective piece of real estate that you might be buying. Not in the wealthy towns. No. They made it almost, they actually screened what part of town, what part of the state you were bringing the prospective buyers from.
Wow.
The realtor, you weren't allowed to call a real estate officer that says, I'm interested in showing to you this piece of property, whether commercial or whether it's residential. I'd like to make an appointment at this time. The real estate, first of all, and they were screening you and you didn't even know. A lot of folks didn't know. Of course, the clients didn't know. Some of us smart people knew. You didn't even have, they weren't even in the system. You had to actually call that particular real estate office, and you as a realtor didn't go by yourself as you normally do with a client if they gave you an appointment. The broker in that office had to be present at those appointments. You had to be pre-qualified. In other words, they want to know how much money you had before you got there. You wouldn't even get an appointment. You have your finances in order. Those finances went out to that real estate company before you even thought about getting an appointment to see the residential mostly. So once again, you listen to the liberals. People go for anything all the time. You have to remember that people can make themselves bigger than life. They can make you believe what they want you to believe. And the liberals are driven by money, hiding behind the pretend wall of, oh, we care. That's not the way it is. Not when it comes to wealth. So I just want to give you a little lesson. Again, they talk about the South all the time.
Yeah.
Come to the North.
All right, let's look at another question. Well, I only have 3, so.
Oh, it's only 3?
Only 3 questions. See,
I'm so,
CPW Chanda Prescod-Weinstein understands the impulse to separate science from human relations. As a girl, she was attracted to the promise of something that operated beyond the grassroots concerns of my activist parents and the people whose lives they were trying to save, not the mundane horrors of how human beings treated each other. She was looking for something funny, sexy, and noble above the financial coercion from the military-industrial complex. For a youthful Chanda, the film Real Genius came to mind. The mature Chanda recognizes her own naivete and how she had consumed incredibly effective intellectual propaganda. So one question that's not here is there anything that is above the fray. And then question A, are we all susceptible to propaganda, or do you think some people are able to resist or see through it? Give an example of propaganda currently in the ether and tell us how you recognize it as such. In what ways, if at all, did you swallow incredibly effective intellectual propaganda? How did you reconcile your disappointment or other reactions to the reality when you began to peer through the veneer of the lies you had consumed? Well, that's what Venita is doing right now, right, with the liberal. Given the way our children's education is currently being manipulated for political purposes, how would you advise parents to protect their children from propaganda? Has education always been a playground for propagandists? And what helps us as adults resist propaganda? So, propaganda.
Mm. Isn't that the American way?
It is.
I think parents, starting from a young age appropriate, should introduce their children to philosophy. And philosophy teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to decipher facts from fallacies. So I think that is something that the parents should do, not the school. The parents. Raise your children with intention. Parents that raise their children with intention, or raise them to survive in all settings, or raise them to understand how to think, how to decipher truth from fallacies, how to present arguments, how to present facts. That's up to the parent. So that's what I suggest. If I could do it all over my children, I gave them what I knew. I knew very little at that point about philosophy. But if I could start all over again with my grandchildren, for sure. They've since, of course, not that when they're very small, have been introduced to philosophy and participated very heavily in it. But I think that's one I do suggest to the parents. If nothing else, introduce them to philosophy. And they'll be able to decipher realism from things that aren't real, propaganda, how to dissect conversations, how to observe people.
Yeah.
How they move, without saying words. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, well, one current propaganda going on in the ether. Y'all probably heard this story where Ron DeSantis has ordered the teachers to teach the children about the benefits of slavery.
Yeah, I bet. You know what, girl?
I can't. I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny. It's so sad. I just have to laugh and cry.
Well, you know what? That's not the first person. He's not the first person that tried to push that propaganda.
No, it's old, actually.
It's old. What was his name? He was one of the so-called journalists. Many years ago, I forgot his name. It hasn't been that long, actually. He was pushing the same similar propaganda. Black folks need to be happy that we took you out of Africa. Because if we hadn't took you out of Africa, you would just be walking around like ignorant baboons. But because of that, you can read now, write, do a little arithmetic.
Picked up some skills.
Wear clothes, shoes and socks. I mean, this absolutely. No. And I just, oh God. Again, I'm laughing out of nervousness and anxiety. It's just so out there. It's
so out there. It's so unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's like, and he said it. And I'm sitting there like, I have some out-of-body experience, which happens to me often.
Yeah.
And that's before we had rewind on our TV. Because if I did, I would have wound it back and make sure I was actually experiencing this. Because I do have these out-of-body experiences. And I couldn't even believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
So there are benefits. I don't know. Well, then again, we're immigrants that worked hard. You know.
Right. It's right. It is propaganda has always been a prominent feature of American culture. You know, it just has. And it does seem particularly intense these days. But I guess really we only had a short, you know, as Venita said, we had a chance to make a run for it in the 80s.
Decades, if that. No, we really did. We had less than 2 decades to make a run for it. It wasn't enough time, but that's all the time we had. And unfortunately, we didn't utilize that time to the best of our ability. We was too busy getting wrapped up in capitalism.
Yeah. So, you know, another story I was listening today, I think today the day that Joe Biden is making this area where Emmett Till was killed into a national memorial. And the thing about it is that there has been a memorial there for a long time, but white folks have been using it as a shooting range.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm tired of.
So poor Joe, he's just trying to say, well, let's see if we can give it some federal protection, if that makes a difference. But we'll see. We'll see.
But you know, it's such an insult to me. And I'm tired of him too. I am so sick and tired of his ass. I don't know what to do. I hope we get viable candidates. He served the purpose at one point. That was to save us from sure death. Because every year I'm only voting to stay alive another 4 years. All my life. That's it. But I mean, you know, I'm sick of that. Black folk, don't you see that as being insulting? Do you know what happened to Emmett Till? Did you know that the men that killed him were acquitted and came out a few days later and said, yeah, we did it? Like they didn't know. Do you know the woman that...
And now you got this, what's this country singer with the song, ain't nobody coming to get our guns, the song that was for, you know the song, Geo.
You know, she from down south, she not the country. What the hell, Michelle?
Well, hum a few bars, maybe we'll...
Shit, I don't know the song. I just know the controversy.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah,
I think I heard about that too.
This white singer that produced a video on the location of a hanging in front of a courthouse or something where hanging took place.
Yeah.
And you know, just with all these racist references. But I was listening to somebody talk about him today, and they were saying at one point, he was like the face of liberalism, Venita.
What? And what happened to him?
This is what I'm saying.
He swallowed the propaganda that Black people want to come and take over our shit. You know, the government is coming to take our guns away from us. You know, so he drank the Kool-Aid.
But on a good note, I read an article. The churches are falling apart, the evangelist churches. They're falling down. They're just so separated because the young people, first of all, are tired and sick and tired of the negative undertone, and I'm saying that lightly, that the evangelist church putting labels on things to get, they're not about that life. So as anything else in society, you look to the young to build the next. Well, let me tell you, the young white evangelists telling them, they're like, you know what, I'm over this shit. I never wanted to be a part of this shit. So now they have the problem because the younger evangelists, they don't even want to be called evangelists. They're like, boy, bye.
Wow.
You know, we're just over that. We don't, you know, that was your time. This is not in your time. We ain't about that life. We don't like labels anyway. Okay? We're coming here to praise the Lord, learn a few things like how to treat people. That's what the younger people in the evangelist church, and they're reeling because the membership is like plummeting because they're waiting for that next young generation, that 20-something, that 30-something. They're like, hell to the no. If you depend on us, we ain't a part of this. Okay? So don't call us evangelists. Don't put a label on us, and we ain't about your bullshit. I was like, woo, woo. So they're literally falling apart, and they're all in a panic.
Wow.
It's not a good way to draw these young people back in. The young people, like, don't even try it. We're not about that life.
Venita, let me put the camera on Geo for a minute. I'll be right back.
Why you gotta put it on me?
Because I want
lovely, Gio.
I want you to have a word about propaganda.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? So it's getting more and more difficult because even if the parents are not raising their children with intention, the children are now raising themselves with intention.
Yes.
You know?
I loved what you said. You know, you have to raise a person, right, that's going to be analytical.
Yes.
And aware of the pitfalls and dangers that are coming at them, because the goal is to control your mind.
That's it.
And wow, don't we you need to educate them about how the different methodologies that will be used against you.
Exactly.
Right. And one of those you just mentioned, right? A religious system.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's falling apart. It's falling apart. And I know a lot of Christians out there, if they're watching this, are saying, oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I never claimed to be a Christian. Let's be clear about that. And I'm always clear about that. Okay. From what I think a Christian is, I could never wear those shoes. So I'm not going to even try to claim it. Okay. I just work every day to be the best person I can be and to treat others as best I can treat them. So, no, just in case they're watching, don't mean to offend you, but I'm so happy to finally see that this controlling, mind massaging system is coming to an end. See, if that comes down, the churches, I think we can make another run for it. Because churches,
I didn't hear a word Gio said about propaganda. Did you say anything, Gio?
I did. Yes, I did.
What did you say?
She said she don't want to have to say.
I'll try to hear Gio.
Oh, I just, I agreed with Venita about what she said about children. You have to raise them so they'll be analytical and aware of the things that will be used against them to manipulate their mind and their activity for a purpose. Always ask why. Why are they saying these things? What is it that they want me to do? Okay, because there is a goal behind everything that we consume these days, and it comes at us in so many different forms. You really have to try to have real books in your home, right? Older books, right? And teach your child how to do research, and how to discern the sources of the information. Okay, well, what are they saying this week? Well, that doesn't match what they said last week, and what could possibly be the motive behind it? What do they have to gain? And what do I have to lose? And it's so sad that you have to raise, practically a little militant to survive in the world that we've created. But how do you have peace internally with so much coming against you? Because you are a resource to these ideologies. You are a resource to these powerful entities, whether you are a scientist or an artist, you are a resource. There's something, someone, somewhere needs you to provide. Um, hmm. And so getting back to, the idea of the science propaganda, that science is for the good of humanity, and yet we've created things that have turned out to be quite destructive. How do you reconcile America is great because we created this thing, but America then just, they created this thing by destroying another community, the health of another community, that's science too. And where do the scientists and the technicians, how do they reconcile this? Do they speak against the propaganda? They'll lose their livelihood. It's very, the consequences of standing against it and trying to speak any kind of truth are very severe. So to try to fight the machine, and it is a machine because it's based on capitalism, right? That rules the world. How do
Yeah.
you do what you love and not be a part of it? I don't know.
Very difficult. Very difficult. I have a Facebook friend, Frank. You remember Frank, Venita? Gio, you might remember my conversations with Frank also. We used to do these long writings back and forth to each other on Facebook. But his basic message all the time was, don't participate. Just don't participate. And that, hard to do in practice, but the reality is all we have is the control that we have over ourselves, the choices we make, the things we decide to buy, the way we decide to move through the world. And I don't really think we have a whole lot of control over that either, but I think we have some. And if we really did get serious about creating change, then that's the only thing capitalism is about is money. And so you hit them in the pocket, and see where that goes. I mean, that's all we have. That's all we have. So that's propaganda, and there's, as we have said, it is just all over the place. And what's really insidious about it is, a lot of times you don't even know that you swallowed it. It's not so easy to see all the time. I mean, some things are glaring, but not always. I did want to say, to Gio's point, about where's my screen? I did last night, I went to the movies to see Oppenheimer. And there is a scene near the beginning where they make a very brief reference. The whole movie is like brief references to different things, but it's a brief reference to The Native Americans who used the land as a burial ground and a ceremonial location in Los Alamos, where they built a town, as Venita was saying, an all white town. And it was a brief reference, but for those that know a little bit more about the history, I mean, they kicked the people out of the town. People were living there, Native Americans, so that they could build this town for about 4,000 scientists and their families, who used the space for about two years, I think. And the army or the military built the town in a couple of months. And and it had everything. I mean, nice homes, general store, bar. It was lovely. Of course, that's the location where the first testing of nuclear weapons would happen, which also had repercussions for the Native Americans in the area that they don't get into at all in the film. But yeah, so that's just kind of an example that popped to mind when you were talking, Gio. But
Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit on the end of that. The propaganda, the illusion given to the rest of the world who has no idea, oh, this was just an empty space and we're going to build a base here.
right.
But there were people living a life with a culture there.
Right. That actually was the point I was trying to get at. Thank you, Gio.
Got it. We got it. We got it.
Oh man. So yeah, the propaganda, it is just everywhere. All right. Question 3. Last question. In East LA, where Chanda grew up, ICE regularly kidnaps people, police chase people, and death is normal. Thus, CPW never thought life was all that great for Black and brown people. But it seems many white people enjoyed this delusion until November 8th, 2016, which is described as white skin privilege by Noel Ignatieff and Ted Allen in the 1960s. It's a useful tool of rich capitalists seeking to divide working class people in service of capitalism. White skin privilege makes pan-racial working class solidarity difficult, and it harms not just people of color, but also working class white people, said the author. Workers are up in arms. Question A, workers are up in arms these days with writers and actors on strike and Teamsters ready to blow. What's going on? Could it be that the propaganda of white skin privilege has lost its luster? Is white skin privilege too sweet to give up? How about light skin privilege? Is it at all possible to give up skin privileges or death sentences, even if we want to? Why or why not? C, these days it seems some white folk are mad AF because they feel they don't have as much privilege as they used to. Who controls our access to privileges? Many of us in the US have certain privileges because of our location in the global north, like access to electricity, running water, indoor toilets. How easy is it to give up privilege? Well, we kind of went through that one. And yeah, I did want to mention this article, the Sunday Read, is the audio version of a story that appears in the New York Times called The Moral Crises of America's Doctors. And it's really something Venita talks about a lot. But just the pressures that doctors are under from the healthcare, health insurance system, and the ways in which they end up compromising patient care in order to satisfy the insurers. How the Nurses Association is describing it as moral injury, and likening it to soldiers with PTSD. How many physicians are, killing themselves these days. So listening to the article and reading the article, it just is another spin on the issues that Chanda is talking about in this chapter, the kind of moral dilemmas that you get into when, maybe all you wanted to do was good in the world, and now you're caught up with these vipers. Pushing you to do things you never would have imagined you would be willing to do, and are you really willing to do them? What are you willing to sacrifice, so that you don't have to be the one to build the bomb, cut back on patient care, just all of the and certainly, I think we need to say at some point in the video, we all recognize the good things that science and technology and medicine have done and do every day for humanity. We're just saying, and Chanda is just saying that it's not a one-way story. It's a mixed bag, and the stuff that's not so pretty is what we don't talk enough about. So yeah, that's a really good article if you get a chance to read it or listen to it.
Wow, doctors committing suicide, huh?
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, I know. I've been hearing that for a while, pre-COVID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pre-COVID. COVID, of course, just took it over the edge. But yeah, it's not about COVID. It's about the way in which capitalism has reshaped medicine. But that's what capitalism does to everything and everybody. That's what it does.
Yes. Huh. But it's supposed to be great. Well, it's great for some people. Not that's the rest of us. Yeah, right. Wow.
Venita, you're on mute, but I see you shaking your head. What's going on up there in that beautiful brain of yours?
I was just thinking about what you said. That's all. It's politics governs everything. And capitalism is politics. So it governs what we eat, where we sleep, if we sleep, on a bed, in a house with a roof, what kind of food we eat, what doctors can look for when you go to see them. and how much they can investigate. At one point, a doctor had 17 minutes per patient. And because the insurance industry is the devil that governs them, they no longer have time for investigative work. Even if they do know that there's something that can help you, I think many times they won't even suggest it because they know that the insurance giants that you pay premiums to will not give you access to the treatment or that drug. They don't have time to hear what you're talking about. This is why they tell you to have your questions ready when you come. Because you have the insurance giants that control them. And when I say control, I mean totally control them.
So,
I don't know.
the article that's included in my links somewhere in there, that Chanda wrote with a couple of colleagues, called "We Are the Scientists." I'm paraphrasing. We are the scientists who oppose fascism. And they wrote it shortly before the March for Science in 2017. And one of the things they're saying in there, I think they're all Jewish. Certainly Chanda is. And I think maybe the woman that wrote it with her is. I'm not sure about the guy. But, they were using a lot of examples from, that thing that happened to Jewish people in Germany. And, and they were literally saying, East LA Chanda, fuck this job. I ain't going down like that. She was really saying, you cannot seduce us with the privilege of money into acting like we don't see the fascism that Donald Trump represents. We're not going to go quietly into the night. And so, I think that's just a moral dilemma that we really all should be grappling with. Because as I say all the time, really all of our industries present us with these kinds of challenges. Not all of our work, has the implications of giving the world nuclear weapons, but we all have choices to make about whether or not we're going to help sustain the system. And it's not an easy question by any means. But I do encourage you to read that article. What else? Do we have any more? We talked a bit about privilege in the beginning. So is there anything else you want to say about privilege? Is white skin privilege too sweet to give up?
Yes.
We already know the answer to that question.
I was just feeling humorous.
And I'm shouting out like I have white privilege. Yes. I wish I did have me some.
So you got that sweet light skin privilege going for you.
No, see, no, it brings us back. No, we're not in that time. It brings you back to those rubber bullets. The stock went down. Okay? No? And that's just why, I mean, again, the fight
I know what you're talking about. Tell Gio what you're talking about.
I don't want to say it on because
Find a decent way to say it.
Oh, a decent way.
It's hard to be decent. Okay, let's see how decent I can be.
Oh, this is hard. She's talking about the protest in Oregon where, remember when the white woman got naked?
Oh, yeah.
Sat down in front of the troops.
Yeah.
And Venita said when they shot rubber bullets at her, she recognized that as the crumbling of white woman's privilege.
Yeah, that was some propaganda that didn't hold up under rubber bullets.
Didn't hold up under rubber bullets.
You see what I'm saying, George? I'm trying to hold myself over here. But at one point they had the market cornered. It was a bull market. For as long as we've been on this earth, it was a bull market. They can toss that stuff out anywhere and the whole world will go. But those rubber bullets, the stock went down. When I saw that, I'm like, wow. I don't mean to laugh.
But that's also an indication, Venita, I think that privilege can be giveth and taketh away.
Well,
there you go.
Exactly. But if you look at what's been going on, and not just the propaganda, just for me knowing real people and the ones that do have that white privilege, people tell me things, even if I'm not interested, even if I already know about it. How, I can see it happening. I don't know, I'm not a therapist, I have to let them know I'm not the Messiah, but go ahead, I'll listen. They're really feeling it. White women are feeling it. That it's hard on them.
Well, yeah, you took away their abortion rights for one thing. I mean,
Well, once again, what did I tell you? The fight is not mine. I'm sitting back and having my coffee. Girl, I fought enough. Picking those cotton fields, I'm gonna let my girlfriends take care of it. Because we have other fights to fight. And I think we'll just ride on them for a change. Just let them do it. Nobody's supposed to get up in there. Let them do it.
Yeah, but I guess.
Let them do it.
I guess.
Let them do it.
I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about the movie, and I guess really to segue from this today. I'd say we end up with nuclear bombs. And as I just said, privilege can be given and taken away. Like all of us, I really tell them, Venita, I'm not as light as I'm appearing right now with the lighting that I have going on here. But I'm not the darkest African American on the planet either. So we've probably all experienced light skin privilege to some degree. And what I would say is, you don't ask for it. You don't go looking for it. Or maybe some people do, but really it's about how other people see you react to you, the meaning that they confer or value that they place on you based on whatever is going on in their head. It really has very little to do with you or how you still see the world or how you feel about anything. It's an other people kind of thing. But we live in a world, unfortunately, with other people that do have an impact on our reality. And I've been thinking today a lot about my baby brother. He's not really my baby. He's a year younger than me. I have another brother that's 10 years younger than me that is the baby. But my brother Larry is a year younger than me. So we grew up, almost like twins. And I've probably told you all this story before, but I grew up with Larry fighting, physically fighting every single day of my life. And he was always the shit starter every single time he would pick. I was just trying to be peaceful. Mother Earth playing with my Barbie. And he always wanted to start some shit. But I was bigger than him and I was stronger than him. So I would let him pick and pick and pick for a while until I got tired of it. And then I would kick his ass. The tables turned when we became teenagers and he got stronger than me physically, which meant that I then had to go looking for equalizers. And as my maternal grandmother taught me, nothing like a cast iron skillet
Oh, no.
to equal things up when you got brothers.
Oh my God.
So I'm relating that to the nuclear arms race. The film, I'm not really ready yet to say what I feel about it. It was long and I'm still processing. But clearly it fell short on really getting into the effects of nuclear weapons and just the long-term consequences, what we're living with to this day. And that wasn't the purpose of the film. It's a biopic about, this physicist, J. Robert Oppenheimer. But it was a 3-hour movie. And so you can get a lot done in 3 hours if you want to. And, that's why to some extent there's sort of an Americana propagandish layer to the film. But as peace-loving as I am, the expression "study war no more" just resonates with my spirit. But I understand, from a little girl, I understand that when you're dealing with a bully, they're not going to stop picking with you until you punch them upside the head. And usually they're really not that tough. They're just picking. They're just picking. But they will interrupt your flow. They will disturb your peace. They will make a happy life impossible for you, because that seems to be the purpose that they exist. And so as much as I was attracted to the No More Nukes movement in the 1980s, and as much as I wish we didn't need to keep building ever more powerful ways of destroying the earth, I don't know what you do about it when you have that bully personality on the scene, that just will not stop. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing in Putin and Ukraine, and we see it all the time. And we live inside the belly of the beast, of the biggest bully on the planet. So that's where we are. That's where we are. One of the things Oppenheimer says in the film is they're not going to understand it. The politicians, the small-minded, petty, egoistic politicians, as Venita said a few minutes ago, politics runs the world. And unfortunately, they're not our greatest minds. They're not our greatest minds, but they're the ones that are in the position because they have demonstrated such ruthlessness. They're now in the position that controls all of these decisions, whether or not to build bombs, what bombs to build, when and where to drop bombs, all of those kinds of things. Who gets water and who doesn't. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used to feel that it was up to the women, that once we decided to really raise parenting to the level of import that it deserves, and find ways to make sure that our children are not growing up so emotionally needy and insecure and in pain and wanting to lash out and all that kind of stuff. But thus far, we haven't been able to do that. And so, yeah, we're in a continuous state of destructiveness.
Wow.
I'll
Well,
shut up.
Michelle, I was going to ask you about the movie. 3 hours of Opie.
3 hours of Opie, no Black people. I mean,
Okay.
I think I might have seen one Black person in the audience of a congressional hearing, but certainly no Black people out there at Los Alamos, none running around Princeton or Harvard or Cambridge or wherever he was.
They weren't showing the cafeteria and the janitorial staff.
That's what I was saying.
No, they didn't do that. That's what I was expecting. There's a scene where his wife is like having, she's frustrated with childcare. Oppie's working all day long and she's at home taking care of the baby and, throwing him back. And so anyway, he says something to her, the baby's crying, and he says something like, don't you think you should go to him? And she's like, I've been going to him all day. And she threw her glass of rocks at him. And so then he ends up going to a friend and asking them to take the baby for a while, and a couple, and they did. And I was thinking then, well, where's Tammy.
Okay, that doesn't sound like,
That doesn't sound right.
the
This is
history we're
Hollywood.
familiar with.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we got a Ron DeSantis moment in the movie.
Yeah.
The Negroes was out having a good time enjoying their post-slavery days. They had no time to help out a poor scientist
Yeah.
wife who's
And my
dealing with
wife had
postpartum depression. Isn't it?
my wife had to raise that child by herself.
You're right. And where's the child? Are they okay? Do they have some issues today?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
Mommy shook me.
Yeah, but no,
Wow.
you didn't see a maid or a janitor or a nursemaid or anybody like that. There were
Interesting.
no Japanese in the
Okay.
film.
No, were they in internment camps yet? No.
Well, 1945, they might have been. They might have been because they dropped the bomb. What was it? August, I think. Two different dates in August of 1945, and so the war was ongoing. So the Japanese in America probably were already in internment camps, but they didn't show not any scenes from what Hiroshima and Nagasaki looked like after you drop the bomb.
So this was 3 hours of propaganda and bullshit.
That's what it sounds like.
We learned a lot about the fact that Oppie was a bit of a womanizer. So there's that.
Okay, that sounds like the normal 1950s Hollywood propaganda. Oh, he's a smart, powerful scientist, and the women love him.
Yes. Yeah. Now the guy that played him, what was his Cillian Murphy? He did have swag. He was swagging it up. I was like, well, I understand.
But during that time, that's why it was a waste. A lot of the movies a waste of ear time, sitting time, and every other time, and brain time. I couldn't do it 3 hours. You can't tell me about anybody 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, many men were like that. You know what I'm saying? It was that whole era. There were a lot of men, black, white, and otherwise, with the swagger and the womanizers and the whole thing. I used to like this boy named Milton Oppenheimer, and I thought about him. He's about Oppenheimer. His name was Milton. He was part black and part wherever Oppenheimer's name came from.
German, probably. Mm-hmm.
Yep, his name was Milton. Mm-hmm. And yep, he was nerdy. I'm on Facebook, just out of curiosity, some years back. And he's a scientist.
Okay.
Milton Oppenheimer. He had a big afro, huge, woolly hair. And he liked me, but I couldn't get past the spectacles. Because he wore these wireframe spectacles. You knew he was going to be something special, a long time. He had that whole thing with him. He was very nice. That must have been like in second and third grade, but he had those silver spectacles and a big woolly afro. And you couldn't quite tell what he was or where, he just had this look.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to identify race at that age, but you just today, but I had this face in my mind. You can't really tell.
Well, Oppie was getting it on. We learned a lot about that. And then, of course, the real big piece of the story,
please,
was how the government fucked him.
Well,
they used him, of course, his brilliance. To get the bomb created, but then once that work was done, the whole McCarthy era thing was.
Oh well.
But it wasn't so much that it really was McCarthy as it was the narcissism of this one senator who felt that Oppie had said something to Einstein, and he felt like he was talking about me, which he was not. But you know, narcissists, everything's about them.
Right.
And he set out to ruin Oppie after that. And he did a good job, you know.
It's
So
all the way. That's always the
yeah, it's the small, the petty, that's why I said these are the people that run the government, you know.
yes.
So it was a lot about that. It was a lot about the bomb itself, but not as much as you might expect. The visuals were pretty stunning. And I think that I understood it on a level because of this book. Like I heard a young woman saying to her movie companion, that she liked it, but she didn't understand a lot of what was going on. And I felt like the only reason I understood a lot of what was going on was because of our reading in the Disordered Cosmos. So Fermi was in the movie, you know, Fermi on. Fermi was in the movie. So little quick references like that I picked up on because of our reading. Yeah.
Cool. Now you posted the Democracy Now! Interview of the journalist, and I tried to listen to it, but I was distracted, unfortunately. But what I was trying to get out of it was it said Hollywood was afraid.
Well, yeah,
Of this
because
movie. Why?
you might figure that a 3-hour film, what, almost 70 years it's been? 70 years since the bomb? 70 years of time to reflect, 70 years of experience. One of the things I saw, I don't think, it's not the Democracy Now! Interview, but I was reading something else about that man. And there's a time lapse that shows all of the times nuclear weapons have been tested since 1945. And it's over 1,000. And it's like, it's a world map, and the map lights up, and there's a little sound effect, but it lights up every time a bomb goes off, and it's like, over here, over here, over here. And you see it going off just over 1,000 times all over the world. A lot of times right here on US soil. And so you would think with 70 years of experience, that you might get some kind of moral statement about the danger of nuclear weapon. There was some of it, but just not what you might expect in a 3-hour film. And so I think that's why that critic was raising the question, is Hollywood still afraid? You know, like I said, they didn't show any images of the Japanese at all. You know? Yeah, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Easy. They never care about the victims. Do they care about you? They care about Native Americans. They never care about the victims. I couldn't sit through a 3-hour film if you're not talking more about victims. Who are the people? The innocent people that every day get up in the morning, they're trying to get through life. They've been affected for generations because of that nuclear bomb.
Right.
Okay, so this is Hollywood with their 3-hour. I don't know what you can talk about 3 hours. Oppenheimer, and not show more about the people that it affected. So I don't know. I don't know. I just They
It
never
was hard. It was a very disjointed
have to be.
storytelling process too. I mean, he was intentionally trying to go back and forth between different decades of Oppenheimer's life, but it just came across as if there really was not a clear, cohesive narrative. You know, and you know, like I said, a lot of people are pointing out just what was missed. It was like a missed opportunity, you know. You know, it had its good aspects. It definitely did, but but what it missed was serious.
Well, you know, they love to redo movies over and over again. So,
well, that's true.
There might be a chance.
That's a preconception anyway, that people assume that Hollywood always trying to have an opportunity to make a clear point about anything. It's called Hollywood.
Yeah, the propaganda, you know, masters.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always, they're not always trying to send this message across to you. They're trying to keep your attention for entertainment purposes, which they've lost me an hour or two. Maybe I have a short attention span, but you got to, you know. So it's called Hollywood. It's not always, and I don't know why people make that, you know, always think they're trying to say, no. It's like Hollywood. And you can't believe half of what you hear, or none of what you see in Hollywood. It's called the magic of Hollywood. So, anyways, that's too bad, because I think that they need to show more of that, the people, and you know how science it affected the people. You know, other than that, I'm not interested in particularly about his wife not being able to tend to the baby and having a hard time when she, you know,
and it is based on a book. I think it's called American Prometheus, and which I have not read. I know usually if I have read the book beforehand, I don't enjoy the movie as much, because the movie never really can give you the kind of detail that you can get in a book. But having seen the movie, I don't necessarily feel motivated to read the book. And that's interesting to me. I mean, I don't know what that really means. Maybe I feel like I know everything I want to know about J. Robert Oppenheimer. Because I mean, and that's the thing, that it's really not, you know, for the people that are pointing out what's missing, is that it's really not about him, the man, his life story, but the work that he did and the impact that he had on the world. And that doesn't come through clearly in the film. And so I don't know if that's an error of the book itself, you know, or the way the film, you know, director clipped what was in the book. So when it comes to cable, you know, check it out.
I think I'll pass. There's probably a good documentary about the whole situation somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it probably was. You have to be very careful down in Hollywood, because the same way we live in a different time where, you know, everyone's triggered by everything, a wind blow, and they're triggered. Hollywood also has to be careful about that, not necessarily being afraid to tell a true story, but they have to be careful also that, you know, because we have social media, they can make you or break you. And, you know, again, they don't want to hear truth today. You got to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, because we benefited from slavery. We're whitewashing everything. They don't want to hear truth. So Hollywood is really walking a fine line also on what they can put out there.
Yeah, well, maybe they should get out there with the writers and the actors and strike the producers.
I think so. Well, UPS today, I think I posted that. They had a victory, and I said, "You go UPS."
Oh, they did. Okay,
yes,
good.
And they had a victory. And they can't depend on society because capitalism got you going so bad till you don't care whether they got there drop dead in those hot trucks and get paid no money. But today, obviously the country's not ready to deal with the wrath of UPS deciding that they're not going to deliver anything.
Good.
Yeah, because the drone squad fell out of the sky, so they still need Big Brown. They still need Brown. Okay.
Yeah, so they weren't playing. The union went in there and they, said, all right. They put their hands up and surrender, and they're like, okay, UPS, what do you want? All right, we made billions and billions of dollars on COVID.
Right, we've been talking shit. We were just playing.
And that's what they did.
Right.
Ain't nothing like that. Okay, so what is it? I'm ready to sit down and talk. Matter of fact, don't even start talking. We'll tell you whatever you want, you got it. Okay? And UPS said, all right now,
yeah.
And you're going to share with us. You're not going to get out there and work us like a dog. We're essential. During COVID, you made billions and billions of dollars, and 90% of the workers are part-time, and the full-time workers are dropping dead.
Right.
Okay? And that's literally what's happening. People don't understand that. So UPS went in there, and UPS, they was kind of quiet too, because they know they didn't have to say much. They had to say much.
Yeah, they don't want that to get around. Okay.
Y'all go home, y'all think about that. We be right over here when you get done. They did not work on the sweat at all. But they really thumbs up UPS, because I was ready. I don't need to have home delivery of food. I can get up behind and go to the store. I don't need any crap. I don't need to buy nothing. I don't need to do all that. So I was all for UPS. I was hoping they would strike, because I think people need to start feeling some stuff. See, nothing's going to happen unless people feel. As long as everything is okay, everything is okay. It's like the bully you were talking about. Bullies don't stop until they're stopped. And I'm a bully stopper. I learned very early in life that, that's what you got to do. They don't have the discipline or control to stop themselves. Whether it's big business or whether it's one-on-one, you got to stop them. So that's what UPS did today. That's what they did today, and I was like, bam, because I was ready.
Go UPS. That's all
go
right.
UPS. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Okay. And that needs to happen more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we really don't want chaos, but when it's only one sector, when it's only one company, we kind of can go along. I mean, like I thought about, did I really want to go to the movies at this time? I didn't think about it till after I bought my ticket, but do I really want to go, while everybody's on strike and blah, blah, blah. But I could hardly get a ticket. I wanted to go opening night, could not get a ticket.
Wow.
And the theater I was in was jam-packed.
Now that's amazing, because it's not a very titillating subject.
People have to be a part of stuff. You have to realize that too. And that's why it's so easy for propaganda to be as strong as it is. People go watch bullshit to say they're a part of the conversation. Not saying that movie was, but this is just human and the way they've been operating lately.
Well, it opened on the same day that Barbie opened.
And that Barbie,
another titillating topic.
I can't believe, you talk to the wrong person. I never liked dolls, don't like Barbie. I don't understand it. And they made big money.
And they say it was a better movie.
I'm sure it was more colorful.
Yeah.
At least they had some brown dolls.
Yeah. Oh, they did? Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, they had one brown doll, at least. Oh my, what does that say about America? What does it say about
I just never liked Barbie
Oh.
because I don't even understand. I don't understand dolls. I just never understood them. So I just
I
never.
had Barbie.
Okay.
I also had some paper dolls.
I ain't never had no Barbie.
Oh, I had some Barbies and some other dolls, and I was like Dr. Frankenstein because they weren't the same size. So I cut their legs and sewed them back together. Oh, I was
Oh,
terrible.
This is what I'm saying. This is why dolls should not get in the hands of some people. That's not how you play with them, Gio. I saw my sister do it. That's not how you play.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I didn't continue to do that, Might not be here today.
They might have a book on you. They have a book on you, then Gio will have a
Right.
book. That's right.
Yeah.
It started out with Barbie dolls.
All right. And for little boys, it's killing animals.
Yeah, but for Gio, started out with the Barbie doll.
Oh my
She
goodness.
doesn't like other children. She didn't dress them up. She amputated their legs, and put them back together.
I was practicing for plastic surgery and
Yeah, that's what they all say, Gio.
Oh man.
It was a big deal, though. It was really a big deal. But no, people aren't willing to give up anything. That's why you have strikers out there. Then why are you at a movie? I mean, if before the strike, before the industry getting what they need, like money, healthcare, good working conditions, things why are people at the movie? That's why we can't go.
But that's what I mean. That's what I was starting to say. I know we don't want the chaos of cutting back, but if you really imagine, like, cutting back on everything, cutting back in the way we were forced to cut back during COVID, where almost everything was closed down, except for the businesses that were making money hand over fist. The other businesses, without the help of the federal government, were going down fast.
Yeah.
But of course, we couldn't really handle COVID.
I'm already say that. People are losing their minds. And the government
they have not regained them. Okay.
Right. And the government did not really help small business. I think one of the plan was to get as many small businesses, including doctor's office. I'm a witness. I know what they did. No, that's another piece of propaganda people fell for. That the government's going around, they gave this money to help small businesses. That was all well and good if the bank was willing to give it to you, give you appointments so you can even have access to the money.
A lot of the bigger companies were swallowing up,
Well, of course, but the banks were catering to the larger companies. That was the problem. Another devil.
But I'm just saying, that when you really think about revolution, a real life revolution, that's the kind of deprivation, the kind of sacrifice, and worse than that, worse than that. But COVID was a taste of, that's what it's about. It's about giving up those creature comforts.
Not by choice. You got that COVID sweep through here every other day, which was great. But I loved the solitude of COVID and not having access. Didn't bother me to things. But again, maybe one day we'll all come together. I don't know how, but there's a shift going on. And maybe that needs something else to happen besides COVID to really bring people to the center.
That's Venita ending us on a happy note. We better take it, Gio.
That's right.
That was positive. Oh, I didn't even do that. I'm slipping, Gio. I'm slipping.
Having an effect on you. It's my propaganda.
Yes, I'm slipping. I'm supposed to be the opposing view. That's my purpose. Now I'm all nice and everything, looking for, positive things. I'm
Oh my
sorry, that will
goodness.
not happen again, audience. Don't worry.
Oh no.
Oh, I love you too. You make me
I
smile all
love
the
you
time.
too, Venita.
Y'all have a good week.
We'll see you
Okay.
next week, Gio.
Same bedtime, same
There
bed
you go.
channel.
Next week, Michelle. Have a good week.
Reading our story together.
Stay cool, Gio.
You too. Stay dry and safe.
Okay.
Bye.